up? Icy Duelist here, and today on my Beginner's Guide to Yu-Gi-Oh! Segment, we're going to be talking about Xyz Monsters, and basically how they work, how to summon them, how their effects work, all that. So, an Xyz Monster, as you'll see, take out number 39 Utopia over here, it's a monster with a black, background and stuff. You can tell that that's how it's an Xyz monster, and you'll notice that these stars over here are actually different than the levels. Like, say, we'll take Fabled Ashenvale here, and you notice that I'll put these on top so you can see them better. Utopia's stars are on the completely opposite side of where Fabled Ashenvale's stars are. That's because Xyz Monsters actually do not have levels. Fabled Ashenvale here is a level 4 monster, but number 39 Utopia actually is a rank 4 monster. So that's the important thing, is that number cards do not have levels, they have ranks. So that means cards like Gravity Bind and Level Eater and stuff, or Level Limit Area B, actually do not affect Xyz Monsters, because Xyz Monsters just don't have levels. You can't tell a rank 4 Xyz Monster that it can attack if it's it's a level your level limit area B's on the field, because it doesn't have a level. So that's important to consider. Now, Xyz Monsters do not go in your main deck. They actually go face down in your extra deck zone over here. And when you perform an Xyz summon, which I'll tell you how to do in a minute, it actually counts as a special summon. So any card that says, when a monster is special summoned, can be activated in response to an Xyz summon, because Xyz is technically considered a special summon. So that means also that you can actually Xyz summon as many times in a turn as you have the resources to do. If you can, as long as you have enough monsters on board to Xyz summon, you can keep Xyz summoning. As long as you have the monster to Xyz into and the materials to do it. So there is no limit on how many times you can Xyz summon in a turn. You just have to have the required resources to do so. So to Xyz summon is as I said, it's a new special type of special summoning, and it's dictated by the card text here. I know it's kind of hard to read on my crappy camera, but Utopia, as you see, is a warrior Xyz effect, and in the first line of text there says 2 level 4 monsters. So that means to make number 39 Utopia, you need to have 2 level 4 monsters on board. So, for example, we'll say we have summoned, doesn't matter how they're special summoned, or how they're summoned, if it's special, normal, whatever. Say you have Fabled Ashenvale and Witch of the Black Forest. I know Witch is banned right now, but let's ignore that. So you have Fabled Ashenvale and Witch of the Black Forest on board. And they're summoned. It doesn't matter what position they're in. One or both could be in defense, as long as they're face up. They need to be face up to Xyz summon. So say they're both face up, and during the extra or during your main phase 1 or 2, you can Xyz summon. So basically, you declare that you're overlaying. You can pick either one of the monsters. Say, I'm overlaying my Fabled Ashenvale with my Witch of the Black Forest. So when you overlay, you actually lay the monsters on top of each other. To Xyz summon, you say, and then you overlay and you place. You say, to Xyz summon number 39 Utopia, and you put Utopia on top of those other 2 monsters. Now, it doesn't really matter how you stack the cards, as long as they're stacked. So you could have the Xyz summon be like, just have them all three right on top of each other, just like that. Or you could even, I've seen players do this, where they put them both sideways like that, and then put the Xyz monster like that, so you can see what cards it has attached to it. I find this particularly useful, but it doesn't really matter how it looks on board. I mean, hell, you could even have them like diagonally for all, anybody cares. As long as they're laying on top of each other, that's the important part to get from that. With Xyz Monsters, except for a couple of exceptions that I've seen, for the most part, Xyz Monsters activate their effects by using Xyz material. Now, let's talk about Xyz material for a bit. These monsters that you use to Xyz summon number 39 Utopia are now no longer considered monsters that are on the field. So, for example, if your opponent declared, or your opponent activated something that has to declare a monster name in order to activate, like a monster you have on the field in order to activate, and your opponent declared Witch of the Black Forest, that effect doesn't matter because Witch of the Black Forest is technically not on the field anymore. The best way to think of Xyz materials is as energy sources that are to be consumed and then used, kind of like spell cards a little bit. You know how spell cards, you use them, consume them, and put them in the graveyard. So that's kind of how Xyz materials are for Xyz monsters. You use them, consume them, put them in the graveyard. And for example, let's say, because Utopia's effect says that when either player declares an attack, you can detach one Xyz material from this card to negate the attack. So, say for example, that we detached Witch of the Black Forest. It doesn't matter which material you detach, really, to activate effects. It doesn't affect the gameplay in any way. And you detached your Witch of the Black Forest and put it in the graveyard. Now, normally, Witch of the Black Forest has an effect that says when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, move one monster with a defense of 1500 or less from your deck to your hand. Your deck is then shuffled. Now, since this card says when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, this effect does not activate because, as I said, technically Witch wasn't on the field. It was an Xyz material. So, it doesn't, when it's attached to an Xyz monster and it says from the field to the graveyard, it does not get its effect. If it was actually summoned as a monster and then sent to the graveyard, it would get its effect, because it went from the field to the graveyard. So, that's something to consider. But cards, that you activate that say when this card is sent to the graveyard, any general way. For example, when the card is sent from the graveyard, sent to the graveyard, you can actually activate its effect. So basically, the best way to determine if a card's effect that you have as an Xyz material, if you send it to the graveyard, the best way to determine if it gets its effect is to say, would I get this effect if I Foolish Burialed my card? The Foolish Burial is a spell card that says send one card from your deck to your graveyard. So ask yourself, would I get this effect if I sent this monster to my graveyard with Foolish Burial? If it's yes, then when you detach it from an Xyz monster as Xyz material and send it to the graveyard, it does get its effect. If you say to yourself, well, if I did Foolish Burial this monster, like Witch of the Black Forest, if you Foolish Burial it, it would not get its effect. So that's an easy way to determine graveyard effects and how they work with Xyz monsters. Just ask yourself, would I get this effect if I Foolish Burialed it? And if the answer is yes, you do. If the answer is no, you do not. Simple as that. So, let's say, we negate that attack. We send Witch to the graveyard. Now, so that attack is then negated. Say, for example, we did that again. We sent Fabled Ashenvale to the grave, for Xyz material. Sent that to the grave, and now Utopia has absolutely nothing. No Xyz materials, it's just a monster on the field. Utopia has a special effect where it says, when it is targeted for an attack and has no Xyz materials, it's automatically destroyed. So, say for example, my opponent had, I don't know, some monster out with enough to roll over my Utopia. I couldn't activate Utopia's first effect because I need Xyz material on the card to detach. So I cannot negate the attack. And it also says when the card is targeted for an attack, destroy it. So as soon as they declare the attack on my Topia, it's destroyed without damage calculation, without anything like that. And they can actually redeclare their attack because the number of cards, the number of monsters on my field have changed in the middle of an attack. So they can redeclare their attack, and since I have no monsters on board, I would take the direct attack. Another thing to take in mind is when you special summon a XYZ from your graveyard, it does not get any Xyz material back. If you use something like Monster Reborn or Call of the Haunted, you won't be getting the Xyz material back. You'll just be summoning it as a regular monster. But some special cards do allow you to use Xyz material when it's to get Xyz material when it is special summoned, like Xyz Reborn, a trap card which when you activate it, it attaches itself to the monster as Xyz material, which you can then use. So there are special cards that do that, but in any case, like when if it just says special summon a monster from the graveyard and you choose an Xyz, it's coming back without its Xyz material. You can still do it, it's just, not going to get its Xyz material. I think, I'm going to go over a little bit, you can, they have other, besides rank 4 like Utopia, we have other ranks like rank 3s. Granosaurus needs 2 level 3s, so you see 2 level 3s, you could Xyz for Granosaurus. Or Shining Elf. So rank 2 requires 2 level 2s. As long as you have those 2 level 2 monsters on board, you can Xyz summon for Shining Elf. Now, a good way to determine, what level you're going to need before we even look at the card text is look at the rank. The rank is pretty much the exact level you're going to need for your monster. So, if you see Granosaurus is rank 3, 2 level 3s. Shining Elf is rank 2, 2 level 2s. So that's a good, easy way to determine it. Like I said, you won't always need 2. Sometimes you'll need 3. Sometimes you can choose any more than 2. Some cards actually ask you, if you want to use multiple materials to Xyz with, besides just the 2 minimum required. And some, like I said, require special card names, special card types, special attributes to Xyz summon, but that's all put on the card text, so you'll find that out when you Xyz with those. But yeah, I think that's basically everything. Remember to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos on a weekly basis. And as always, this is Icy Soul for Icy Duelist, signing out.